Fellow Toastmasters and guests, a very good evening to all of you. Leading in a volunteer organization, I've had only one such experience, but I have to thank Toastmaster Rashid Asagir for two things today. First of all, you wouldn't know it, but he's the culprit who introduced me to Toastmasters, and he actually convinced me to become a member. And he was the one who actually convinced me to deliver my icebreaker just 6 months after my joining. And secondly, I don't have you to thank because you just spoke half my speech, which I'm about to make. Because my experience relates to actually my leadership experience leading this club for the year 2018-19. There's one thing very funny about Toastmasters, and in fact that's what sets us apart, and that is the structure of leadership. You've all heard of a pyramid structure, right? I believe all of you have done that. But in Toastmasters, the structure is still a pyramid, or rather a triangle, but slightly different. It looks more like this. It has 3 tiers. On the bottom tier is the president. On the mid tier, it's the ExCom. And on the top tier, there are the members. You get the picture? Being the president of this club, when I was nominated for the presidency, 1 year and 10 months into my Toastmasters journey, trust me, it was not easy to accept it because I'd seen how large of a responsibility it is. And if I had known what it did entail back then, maybe I would have thought twice about accepting the nomination. But luckily, the nomination was there and no one contested it. And I thought everybody was so in love with me that they won't want to see anyone else president. But the truth was slightly different. The truth was, nobody wanted to take the presidency. Because they knew what did it entail, and I didn't. But nevertheless, speaking here, standing here, and I believe it was this very room, during my first meeting as president, having to open the meeting and having to close the meeting meant that you had to come up with at least 2 monologues for every meeting, whether you're doing a project or not. And you have to do it differently every time, because you don't want to get to a place where people recite your speech word by word as you speak it. You need to surprise them, you need to do it a little differently every time. What does this pyramid mean though? The pyramid means that the members take top priority in the Toastmasters Club. Their educational progress and their health and well-being take top priority. And secondly, the executive committee. It is there to assist the president, and as Toastmaster Rashid very rightly pointed out, initially I did everything after taking approval from the ExCom. Slowly and gradually though, it got to the point where I adopted a very new kind of leadership, and that is act first, ask later. Luckily though, and I say this with all my heart, I had perhaps the most supportive ExCom that this club has ever seen. I had my lieutenant, Toastmaster Imran Rana. I had my VP membership, Toastmaster Samir Hamid Dodi, who made things a lot easy by usually not turning up like he did today. Please don't tattle on him, all of you, that I said that. We had an amazing VP PR who opened new avenues of social media outreach, Toastmaster Gurusa. We had a first-timer, just like Toastmaster Faizan, Toastmaster Hiba was the first-timer Sergeant at Arms. And by God, she performed amazingly well. We had a secretary in none other than Toastmaster, or Distinguished Toastmaster Zaid Kalia, And am I forgetting any role?
Immediate past president.
And yes, immediate past president. Big shoes to fill. People like Toastmaster Shamsuddin, Toastmaster Hassan Tebo, Toastmaster Samir himself. This club has seen some amazing presidents, and every time you cannot help but compare yourself to them, or at least think that you are being compared. What did we achieve during this 1 year? As Toastmaster Rashid has made it very easy for me, our membership grew from 28 to 66 members. We achieved 26 awards or 24 awards? 24 awards. And something that we have already reached as I speak right now by 5 awards. So our performance this year is twice that of the last year. And that brings me to the last point, which is a vital aspect of leadership, and that is to ensure that you are succeeded by capable people. And while the president has absolutely no role in nominating the next year's ExCom, the president has a role in training and working with the ExCom members to prepare them for bigger roles. And I'm very proud to say that myself, together with the nomination committee, we delivered on this target. And today's ExCom, I can safely say, is one of the best in our history. The results speak for themselves. The membership levels have retained. The certifications are coming thick and fast. Though mind you, Mr. Imran, these are pathway certification, and they take only 5 projects, or 3 projects, or 2 projects, unlike the old curriculum, which took 10 projects for a certification. So it's not all that bad. You can consider those 24 certifications as maybe equivalent to 45 certifications today, but nevertheless, this is what the club is here before you, and this is the way it is progressing. Mr. Toastmaster.